Hello, I'm Drake. Welcome to Working Dragon Mystic, where we teach metaphysical and occult knowledge so that you can manifest real and tangible results in your life. This week, by viewer request, we're actually going to be discussing the magical properties of beef. So stay tuned. Okay, so I recently got an email that I couldn't ignore, and with Yule coming up, it seemed pretty urgent. So we're going to go ahead and do a video and help this individual out. Now, personally, I think they might be giving me a little too much credit in this email. Now, I will say this. I have emailed back and forth a few times here, and we have a working plan. They have the recipe that I'm going with. Now, I say this because when I did the chicken video, as you all know, we covered the magical properties of chicken, and I gave you a recipe for applying it. And I made sure it was a recipe that anyone could do, no matter how small their apartment. And I did what I tried to make what was a bulletproof recipe. And by bulletproof, I meant if you followed the steps and did what I said, that it should come out perfect every time. Now, I have been planning to do a beef video because beef is a very popular meat, and it does actually have a lot of lore in Yule. It's one of the more popular dishes for Yule because meat is associated with fire, so you have that whole bringing the sun thing back. So this came at a very handy time, and I do believe in here, I may have skipped over it, I don't know if I read it or not, but no, he just said beef dish. Okay. Well, they did tell me that the family prefers beef. Pork is also a very popular Yule dish, so I considered that. But in order to help out our friends here, because my viewers come first, we are going to cover beef. Now, I could give a quick, easy, simple beef dish like I did with the chicken. However, with the parents and the grandparents coming, I wanted to try something a little different. So what we're actually going to do today is going to be a beef roast with a red wine sauce. And I am going to do my best to make it as bulletproof as I can. And from everything I saw in the pictures they sent me, we can do this. Now, before we go down to the kitchen, what are some of the properties of beef? Well, as I said already, beef, elementally speaking, most cultures would associate beef with the fire element. So you got that kind of, that passion, that drive, that extra energy in there. And clearly, you know, that connection to the sun. So that's there. Now, beef, there's not a lot of information available for it. So everything I've been able to find over the years keeps it pretty simple. I mean, any association with fire you can plug into beef. But instead of drowning us out with that, beef has, in magical uses, beef can be used for bliss, excitement, grounding, prosperity, protection, and strength. Now, when we're talking about a Yule dinner, prosperity in the coming year, protection in the coming year, bliss in the coming year, excitement about that coming year, and the strength to hit that year at a running start, that's exactly what I want to go for. Now, with that said, let's get down to my tiny kitchen and show you how to make this dish. Alright, so here we are in the kitchen, and as always, I have trouble lighting this kitchen, though we've changed out a few bulbs, so it's working a little better. But we're not here to see me anyway, so don't worry about that. Alright. Now, James, we're going to be using a 6-quart crock pot, same one we used to make our wassail. Now, I saw in the picture you all did have a crock pot. And Jesse, according to you, you're not sure how big it is, but this should be, even if you're a size down from this, you should be good enough. And that thing looked big enough in the picture compared to everything I saw. I'm pretty sure you all have a 6-quart crock pot. Now, you also told me money was an issue. So I want you to go to the store and buy a boneless chuck roast. This one here, it's $17.50. And it's a 4-pound chuck roast. That's a lot of meat that will feed quite a few people. Now just take your chuck roast. Actually, hold on. I actually have a tip for you. While you're there, pick up some of these. These little Reynolds Wrap crock pot liners. These are going to come in handy. First off, anytime you're cooking in a crock pot, if you hate trying to clean it, because this is going to be a long cook, these are a heaven sent. Not only can it make your cooking easier, but it also allows you to clean up easier. Now, I want to show y'all something here. I am limiting my cook space to literally my stove and this little tiny cabinet right here next to the fridge. So I'm trying to duplicate and shrink my kitchen down smaller than what you have, James. Now, let's go ahead and zoom in on the crock pot because that's what we're going to need to be seeing. Try and see if we can get better at these videos. Alright, now once you got your crock pot lined, just take your chuck roast. Hands washed, by the way. I washed them before I started this. And just throw it in there. Make sure you remove that little thing on the bottom that sticks to the meat sometimes. Now it's going to be a tight fit. That's okay. Now if you ain't got gloves or something, make sure you wash your hands after. And here's where it's going to get fun. Now, since this is the holiday, we're going to use the same holiday spice mixture that I used in the wassail. This is really good and it does go well on meats. Well, we named it holiday spice because how well it works for holiday dishes in general. The flavor's just, it's what you'd expect for a holiday. Now, other than that, the only other thing we're going to do is use a little rosemary. If that shows up in the camera. It might not. Oh, there goes rosemary. Yay! Okay. Now, with those two items, you're going to go to the store and buy sweet red wine blend. Now this particular brand, I think I paid $7 for this. But this will do for what you're wanting, because you're wanting to make a sweet red wine sauce. And even though you all seem to not have any saute pans or anything, I did notice you had a wine bottle opener. And we're going to, I've never actually measured this, so we're going to measure this and see. Because I know that this takes quite a bit of wine to make this dish. But I think 2 cups is what you'll need. And I want you to pour it straight over. Now take your holiday spices and put those in there, all over the top of it. You can be liberal. And again, I'll show the recipe for how this is mixed up in the blog post and the description of the video, so that will be there. No problems. Now, if you want to know how much to put in there, I'd say put in about 2 tablespoons of this. Or you can actually just rub the meat down with it and get a good coating on the meat before you put it into the wine. Now the next one is your rosemary. Now for this dish, I actually say 1 to 2 tablespoons of rosemary. Rosemary is going to be our primary focus, and it's really going to help flavor that meat up. So definitely 2 tablespoons of your rosemary. We plug our crock pot up, select a low, and we put our lid on. Now I got this set for 10 hours to cook. Okay, now that this is on, all we have to do is wait. This is just going to sit here and it's going to cook. In 10 hours, this piece of meat is going to become extremely tender, and a good chunk of the moisture from the wine is actually going to cook out. So you will notice a reduction in your liquid. That's the reason we put so much in there, because you are wanting to reduce that wine down. Now, the excess liquid will also help make sure the meat stays moist. Now, we did season it somewhat lightly compared to what some people will tell you to season food in a crock pot. Now, there is some pepper in that. Oh, that's actually what I was wanting to say. Salt. You will want to add 1 or 2. Add you a tablespoon of salt to that. The tablespoon of salt will help balance out the sweetness, and salt in general just really goes good with meat. There is a little pepper in the holiday spices. However, what we're actually wanting to do with this is we're going to season it a bit toward the end. Like I said, we don't want to over season it now and it be too salty or too spicy. So this is actually a dish where we're going to season at the end to bring it to where we want. So now all we have to do is sit back and wait for 10 hours, and the house will smell good. There's no way around that. And after the 10 hours, we'll come back, we'll check it, we'll see how it's going, see if it needs to cook any longer. Until then, I'm going to go do some more work, and I'll come back here in a little bit. Take it easy. Okay, and we're back. It has been 10 hours, actually quite a bit over, really. And our roast is done. I'll show you a shot of it in just a second. Now, you can tell it's done easily. Just get you a wooden spoon. This isn't sharp at all. It's about as dull as you can get. And you can just literally push that straight through the roast. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a good, tender push through. Now, the wine didn't reduce as much as we wanted. And if you could easily take this and put it into a sauce pot or something and slowly reduce it. Now, as we said before, in this particular example, we're doing this recipe for a couple individuals who do not cook, cannot cook, and I got to make it bulletproof. So, reducing down, we're going to bypass that this time. And in fact, this morning, I got up early and I put together what's essentially called a white sauce. And this sauce is really easy to make, and we're going to go ahead and show you how to make it. And this is going to actually replace the reducing down. And this is going to give a little something to add to it to serve alongside it. Some people, I've seen them put this on it when it's served. I actually prefer to serve it on the side. It's a little easier in my mind. So, let's go ahead and get me a bowl down here. Since you didn't have a mixing bowl in the picture you sent me, we're just going to use a bowl. Cereal bowl, dinner bowl, whatever you want to call it. Now, let me grab the ingredients real fast, because this is a very simple one. You will need mayonnaise, you'll need pepper, you're going to need salt, and you're going to need a little lemon juice. That is all you're going to need. Now, the first thing you want to do when you're making this sauce is you're going to get a ladle, or if all you have is a coffee cup, use that. But you want to ladle out a little of the broth from the roast. And go, if there's bits of beef in there, don't worry about that. That's actually just going to add another level of flavor to your sauce, and that's pretty standard. Now, I always say salt and pepper this to taste. So, what I actually like to do is add 1 to 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. This is really going to help. If you're unsure on the flavor the first time you make it, start with 1 tablespoon, mix everything together, and see how the flavor is. Because some people's palates, they like certain things a little tangier or not. So with the lemon juice, start with 1, and then add a little bit after you got it mixed up. Now the mayo is the trickier bit, because what you're shooting for is a thickened sauce. But you don't want to over thicken it with the mayonnaise, because then it's just going to taste like mayonnaise, and that defeats the point. So I usually take and put in 1 large spoonful. So I usually say 1 large tablespoon, and I start there. With this particular bowl though, okay, I'm going to put in 2 for this. So 2 large. And that's mainly because I put 2 ladles of broth in here instead of 1, without thinking. Now you're just slowly, let's see if I can actually get you a shot of this. Yeah, there we go. Alright, now you're just slowly going to use your spoon to work this in. Now if you have a whisk, you could whisk it, though you might need a larger bowl. And again, I'm having to go with what I saw, which I didn't see a mixing bowl or anything that I would feel comfortable whisking in. Now there is going to be a lot of gelatin that has cooked off of the meat, and so it'll give it a really great texture and flavor as it cools. Which is one reason I mixed up a batch earlier this morning, because I want to show what happens when it does cool. Alright, now it's not fully mixed, but that's good enough. Go ahead and add, I'd say 4 grounds of salt to it. Now here's why I say I do this first. I actually float a little pepper just on the top of it. That's not a lot of pepper. But it's a great place to start. And of course you can add more or completely leave it out if you like. I know some people's not a fan of pepper. Don't leave the salt out. You will need the salt. Again, anytime you cook something in the crock pot, it tends to need more seasoning than not. And again, if you had a whisk or something, you could get the lumps out a lot easier. Now, I want you to add... Wait, did I already add that lemon juice? You can always taste it and add a little more lemon juice if you want. I actually like the tang in mine. And I am making a mess here for sure. I should have made less sauce than this. Okay, so once you have that together, you'll see it's not very clingy. And honestly, if you can, put this into a mixing bowl, and I'll show you why. So, even if all you have is a high side bowl or something, either make it in small batches with this bowl, which you can do, or get you a high side bowl like this. And start working it. Now with the spoon it's harder. I'm not going to lie. So I am going to tell you to go buy a whisk or something. Now I actually have a little cheapo whisk here. So any whisk will work. And what this will do, this will help you work it in, get those chunks out a little better. And actually it's going to end up looking a lot better for your sauce and a bit more impressive. And whisks are cheap, so just go ahead and buy a whisk. And so are mixing bowls. Honestly, I take it back. Don't try to use the cereal bowl. Just go ahead and drop a couple dollars and get a mixing bowl if you don't have one. And there you go. Your sauce is done. Now, you'll see it's a little thin, but that's why you're going to refrigerate it. And you're going to chill it for a little bit. Within an hour or two, it'll thicken up. The one I made this morning, it's exactly what we did. As you noticed, it is thicker. Now, I did make this one squarely in the bowl, and I did make less of it, but it did thicken up. And it tastes delicious. And of course, you probably want to see the actual beef. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, like I said, this cooked for 10 hours. Now, truth be told, it cooked longer than that because after the 10 hours, oh, sorry about that, got too close. It just kicked over to warm. I had a lot to do, had a lot to get done, so I wasn't able to come straight back to it. Not an issue if that happens, if your thing has a warm setting. Let's see if I can get the angle here. Okay. Now, as you can see, that is tender as can be. Beautifully tender. Just literally just by touching it, it falls right apart, and that's what you're looking for. Now, if you don't want to bother with the sauce, you can actually just serve it right here in this gravy that is made here. That's fine. But I do like the addition of having the sauce on the side. So let's go ahead and set a plate up and show you what I mean. Okay, here we are. Now, all I did was I put a little of the sauce into a serving vessel, which honestly that might be more than you need. And I have the beef here. Now, if I was serving this for dinner, I would actually put my sides or my salad right here. And I would just serve as is. And now this way, your guest has the option to either dip it or put the sauce over directly. So let's go ahead and give this a try. Try not to make a mess. Oh yeah. Oh, that's perfect. Definitely. Oh, that's good. So there you have it. A simple easy, bulletproof Yule roast. Now, honestly, the hardest part of this is mixing the sauce up. And like I said, it's just seasoned to taste. But the lemon juice and the mayo are the two primary ingredients. The salt and pepper, they come in to help flavor that sauce up a little bit and spice it. The other flavors are coming from the gravy and the stock that your roast was cooked in. Now, if you don't want to make the sauce, or you don't have to. I have actually seen people serve this with mustard and ketchup. I probably wouldn't. Or you could just serve the juice in the roast like an au jus and use that for dipping. That's fine. So I wanted to give you an option of a white sauce that's easy to make. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this. And again, remember, beef is a wonderful thing to use in your magical practice, especially when serving guests for culinary magic. You can't beat something that's going to build strength, prosperity, joy, strength. So I hope you'll definitely give this a try. I'll make sure the recipe is in the blog post and in the video description, along with the magical properties of beef. Okay, now that was a simple and easy Yule roast that you can make. Now real quick, I want to say, when I started this video, I said I was going to make a roast with a red wine sauce. Well, I actually thought that it would reduce down a little better than it did. So I had to improvise, and we went with the white sauce as opposed to a traditional reduced red wine sauce. And again, that's because of the limitations that was put onto the recipe by the email. Now, I have emailed back and forth, as I said at the beginning of the video, and the two individuals are extremely happy with what they got. And they do plan to send me an email back to let me know how their families enjoyed the dinner. So I'm really looking forward to that. But I did want to correct that it's not a red wine sauce, it is a white sauce, because I'm sure someone in the culinary world is going to get onto YouTube, see this video, and just try to chew me out for that inaccuracy. But we'll hope not, and we hope everyone understands that sometimes you have to do things on the fly and you have to adjust. Now, as we've covered in many of our other videos, when you are doing magic with food, you just charge it with the energy and you charge it with the intent. Now, in the case of this particular recipe, like we discussed in the mesquite video, where we talked about cook times, well, this is one of those times where you can really utilize that cook time. You can set the intent, you can set the energy for that, so that as it's cooking for that whole 10-hour period, you're charging it with those intentions that you want, that prosperity, that bliss, that protection, that strength for your family that partakes in this Yule dinner to carry throughout the year. Anyways, from my family to yours, happy holidays and a blessed Yule. I'm Drake, and this has been Working Dragon Mystic. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.